just one paycheck away from becoming homeless or a trip to the food bank. We're lucky in the city of Pickering because we've got you. We're lucky because we have community associations like Pickering West Shore Community Association, Fairport Beach Neighborhood Association. We're lucky because we have groups like DARS that are stepping up. So what does that mean in our city? And what does it mean going forward? Well, to start with, as Jake introduced, we have Elaine. For the very first time, we have a dedicated staff person that has taken on the challenge of dealing with the crisis, and it is a crisis, homelessness. Dealing with community safety well-being. And well-being means having a roof over your head, having the ability to have a meal. So in our city right now, we are so proud of being able to be a cutting edge of 2 new initiatives that have never been done. We're all familiar with warming centers. We have one in the city of Pickering. We have a cooling center over at Chestnut Hill, and it fills a void. But it's tied to a declaration of when a temperature hits sub-zero Fahrenheit, if you're old like me. But thanks to DARS, and thanks to Durham Region, and thanks to the city of Pickering, we're going to learn more about an initiative that is talking about not needing a shelter that's tied to weather conditions, but they're tied to what is it that's a mitigating factor that's going to impact your health. For example, when we had all of the smog, that impacts health. Should people be outside that are shelterless? Obviously not. But criteria didn't address that. When it's sleet, when it's rain, when it's freezing rain, ice pellets, and it's only hovering at 0. You need shelter. So Margaret's going to talk a little bit about what is happening, and this is real for this year. So I'm not going to take away her thunder. I just sort of wanted to lead into it.
I thought you were going to preach.
PTL. Praise the Lord. I watch TV. But so because of that, we've been able to literally do something that's different, something that I think is a new direction for how we address homelessness in terms of what designates and when is there an emergency. Second, we heard about low barrier shelters, and we heard about what the community says is wrong with them and what's wrong with the people and they're predators and they're rapists and they're this, that, and the other. That's not true. As a matter of fact, in the town of Whitby, that shelter didn't exist, but people were already complaining that they're experiencing a problem. They're experiencing a problem for a shelter that never existed. Fake news. In the city, we're looking at something what we call transitional housing. Transitional housing deals with the symptom, and it deals with the cause. And what it's going to do is help to develop new skill sets for those that are currently in need of housing because they're homeless. And how will it work? Well, you know, if we can't thank the provincial government for anything, we can certainly thank them for the short term where they designated the agricultural lands for development, because that resulted in developers evicting people living in housing on the agricultural land. Well, you're probably wondering, well, what the hell does that have to do with homelessness? Well, the answer is, now that the government is going in a different direction, we have amazing opportunities of properties where we went out to look at it. And we had this idea, and off we went, and Margaret's pickup truck, and there was Lisa, there was me, and off we go, and we're driving around, and we're visiting and looking at these properties that are boarded up. And we found one. We found an idea that would be not just a place to sleep and a place to live, but a place to develop an entrepreneurship. So we're looking at a piece of property. that can probably accommodate upwards of 7?
6 to 7.
6 to 7. May not seem like it's a lot, but it is a lot in our city. And what's going to happen? Well, they're going to be growing crops, fresh produce. What is the number one thing that our food bank lacks? Fresh produce. They're going to be growing fresh produce that they're going to use for their transitional housing. What's left will be donated. They're going to raise chickens, and no, not to slaughter them, but for eggs. Why? Because what is it that is in terms of protein? Eggs. And what's missing in terms of donations? Fresh produce, things like eggs. They're going to get an opportunity to look at and take part in not just producing produce and raising chickens for eggs. They're going to get an opportunity to be able to work together to help improve and build and maintain these structures. So this is what's on the horizon, and this is new. But this couldn't happen if we didn't have these people here today and you people out there. Because with creative minds, you get creative solutions. With supportive communities, you can find solutions. So tonight, I am really pleased and really proud to be your regional councillor, but I'm equally proud to also be the chair of the Durham Regional Task Force on Homelessness, really working with an amazing team from the region, and also an amazing team in the city of Pickering. So you heard it first. It's real. This isn't made up bullshit. It's not the kind of stuff that well, it's not going on any print media because we don't have print media anymore. But we do have this opportunity, and we will get through it. We have willing players from the development industry that bought the property, and that's good because they're agreed to work with us. And then you know what? If it works, it's going to be one of many. Because then we can look at micro homes, micro units, micro construction, on adding additional people to be able, because these lots are big. They're agricultural lots of 15, 20, 30 acres. So that means we have better opportunities and more opportunities. So you're going to be hearing more about it, and you're going to get to hear, hopefully sooner than later, that we're ready to go, and that someone will be moving in, and someone's going to be moving in at the beginning to help put this whole project together. So that's my segue to turn it over to the face of DARS.
Oh, gosh. Is it okay if I stay sitting? Is everyone all right with that? First, before I begin, I am only one face of DARS. I have a team. We are part of a team. It's a larger team than what's here tonight, but I did want to acknowledge in the back, John Paul de la Plante, his wife Carolyn, which her last name is Ormsby, right? I put you together. Claudia Mariano, they're all originals, OGs. I'm the new one. And then also Alan Phillips. And I just want to, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to segue with you. He will be running our first house. He is our home superintendent. And he came with us to all of the site visits, worked with the people that we worked with. And Alan has lived experience. So he was one of the individuals that Darlene talked about at the gazebo. And he has done amazing things with his life in order to put in the work that he needed to put in to get him where he is today. And we're just like so proud of him. He's our, the special child. He's our golden child. And we will utilize all of the great lived experiences that he's had. And that really helps in our industry to know that there are people who have lived it and then want to come back and help, and in doing so give us a different perspective. I'm just an old white privileged lady, so I don't get a lot of the stuff, and he does, so that's great. So thank you to the team who came with us. We just finished a taco dinner at Peace Lutheran Church. We do a dinner every Thursday night there, They have graciously provided us some space, and so we had tacos and Latin music and even some virgin pina coladas and margaritas. I was the bartender. And that group has grown. We have not even advertised yet, and that group has grown. I think the first week we had 8 or 10, and we're up to about 16 now. I think it was, how many weeks have we been going? 5 weeks? 6 weeks. So it just shows that there's a need. Today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people walked in, at least 5 or 6, 7, at least 7 who are living in our communities unhoused. I'm not talking sleeping on somebody's couch. I'm talking in your parks, in the forest, and it's getting darn cold out. Luckily, Peace Lutheran Church also offered us the use of their building at night for the warming center that Maurice talked about. So we will be offering a warming center there. Part of my proposal was that precipitation kills, and it can be really cold out, but if it's not so cold out and it rains and then it gets cold, you're likely to freeze. So we really want to get people used to coming there. We will have a flag that actually flies. Half-mast means we'll be open at 8 that day, 8 o'clock at night. If it's full mast and the church is empty, we're allowed to come in anytime to warm up. And if it's down, then that's when we're closed. So that's how we will let people know who are unhoused and who don't maybe have a cell phone or what have you. They have their own little communication system that happens, and I think 4 or 5 of the people that walked in tonight that were new heard about it from somebody else who's living on the street. So that's kind of cool. So that's what's happening there. And of course at the library at the City of Pickering, we do our Wednesday meal. And that we do a little bit more advocacy. Thursday night is kind of fun. Wednesday we have Ontario Works at our luncheon, which is great because most individuals who have to deal with the social services sector, sorry guys, find it very frustrating. And it can be a bit of a challenge. And so if an OW worker's there and he can just email, or she can just email somebody, get a quick answer, look on the person's file, it makes it so much less frustrating, and it takes down barriers. As well, we have a housing worker there from CDCD, which is the
Community Development Council.
Thank you. And they provide support through their housing stability plan. They have, is that right? Is that what it's called? Yeah. And they can help you with if you have arrears, if maybe you need to have first and last months and you can't afford first and last month's rent, they can get you last month's rent. So there's all sorts of avenues of funding that, as an individual who's not familiar with the sector, doesn't know, but we can help you get. So I say that's our big advocacy day. We also, on top of that, will take people to doctor's appointments. We will go to lawyers with them. We translate. We do all kinds of things. And one of the individuals who probably most of you will recognize the name of was Roger, who lived down by the lake. And he was all over Facebook and everybody helped him. So Roger was a client of Dar's years ago, right at the beginning. And he is housed, and he still continues to come to our program every week, both days. So part of our philosophy is you don't just house somebody and say, good luck. There's a whole pre-time. So getting them ready for that. You know, do they have ID? Do they have their last month's rent? All that kind of stuff that they might need. Then once you get them in, we help them with getting the things that they need for a home, whether it's a room or a house that they're renting with, or an apartment that they're renting with other people. They need most of the same things. So we help them with that. We've moved. Buying a pickup truck was a curse, and also one of the best things I did, because I have moved a number of people into, with the team, into their apartments and places that we found them. So that's the time that we really were very involved. And then the after part is, I think, equally as important, Because if there's something that's going on that maybe might make it difficult for them to keep their housing, or if they've gone off their medication, or if they're just going through a rough time, or they're broken up with their partner, there's all those things that can happen to all of us as well. And so having that support afterwards means you can go to a friend on a Thursday night and say, I really need help. I can't afford rent this month, or whatever the deal is. So that's sort of our philosophy, is that as Darlene said, grandma's table. And I always asked my mom for help while she was here, and we hope that they do the same for us. And then as well, we do a shower program. I don't know if you're aware of that, but people who live on the street don't have access to a shower, and that's a health concern. So we do provide a shower program where they can get a shower kit and a towel. They go into the arena change room, the whole thing. And again, we're low barrier. If you want to take, is there anyone from the city here? If you want to take your dog in and give your dog a bath, we're okay with that. If you want to spend half an hour just under the hot water, that's okay too. So and take all your stuff in, because that's a big issue for people who are unhoused, is they're afraid they're going to lose their stuff. So it comes in with them. We also do wellness checks for the city of Pickering. I know that they are working on an encampment strategy with the police, but for the time being, and since our inception really, we do wellness checks and encampment checks. So we will go in 2 at a time into an encampment. I've been with many of the team players, and we'll go in and make sure everybody's doing okay, and do they need things, and maybe they shouldn't be staying here, but we could shove them along a little bit to a place that's a little bit more inconspicuous. I have to say that the city of Pickering has been fantastic supporting people who are unhoused. In other municipalities, they're often moved along continually. There's nowhere that they can stop. And can you imagine if you just laid out your sleeping bag and you're ready to go to sleep, and then someone taps on your arm and says, you gotta move. And then 2 hours later, you're in the same boat. So that's one really good thing. We go in, we check, we make sure everybody's safe, and we report back to the city, and then they report back to whoever made sometimes it's not a complaint, and I must say that. Again, Pickering, honestly, I've lived here for 35 years, and we have the best community. Because more times than not, people are just phoning because they're concerned, not because they're complaining. They're in the back forest, I can see them, I just want to make sure they're okay. We do a food bank, we have a clothing bank, we do essentials, so things like deodorant and laundry soap are luxuries, so we provide that. We have hair cutting once every quarter, so we have a hairstylist that comes in and does free haircuts. We have a foot care nurse that comes in. We do training, so often people who are unhoused will come across other people maybe on the street who might use drugs. And so we want to make sure that they're naloxone trained, so if something does happen, God forbid, they can at least deal with it or help their friend. We do meals to go. We play bingo. That is probably the biggest day. Claudia's our bingo caller, and we give away Tim Hortons cards, and it's the best fun. And then I call it forms and frustrations with Marg. So that's what I do. I help them maneuver and fill out forms and do all kinds of stuff. And then our biggest and most exciting project, which Marie's talked about, is definitely the curated transitional housing, is what I like to call it, because I think it's important that the group that live in the house form as organically as possible, and we don't just stick 6 people. Can you imagine if that was something you were on your own, like somebody said you have to live with another 5 people, but you don't get to have any say in who they are. So we want to try and curate it. We want to try and make it as zen as possible, and then provide the things on the property that will give them skills. So as Marie said, raising of chickens or growing of crops, there'll be all kinds of stuff. There's a barn there that we need to pull down. So fun stuff. And then the the concept behind the renovations is that the people that will be moving in will also have an opportunity to work in the house. So maybe paint their bedroom. So it gives them a sense of ownership, and that's really what we want. We want them to feel like this is their home, not a shelter that they get a cot and, you know, have to leave in the morning. This is their home. And then we'll do the wraparound services again. So DARS will come up, we'll have collaboration with Ontario Works, we'll have Durham Mental Health, whoever those clients, those residents need, we will make sure that they get to the house. And yeah, I think as a group, we are, DARS is sort of coming out of the gate running, sometimes too fast. And I've tripped a few times, but I promise it's all with good intention. So we hope that you support us, and if you ever wish to get involved, you can always go on our Facebook page, which is DARS, it's quite easy. And does anyone have any questions? Yes, Jake?
So I'm just going to make mention that right here we have a sign up. That is, so you can put your name down, we get connected. That could be for maybe you just want to donate time that you have, something that you may have. Maybe you can do taxes for free, or maybe your hairstyle, something like that. Maybe it's going to be like you'd like to get a lunch program. Maybe it's going to be that you'd like to donate gift cards. If we need for Christmas, we need gift cards. If you put your name over here, promise we don't sell it, and we could maybe make some money with ours. We won't sell your information, but someone will get in contact with you, and then you can say what you would be willing to do. Right? And then maybe you can organize. You as one person can organize maybe 5 or 6 of your friends to do some things. So that we have it over here. So before you leave, please sign up for that, and then we can.
And I just wanted to sort of finish off by, I think one of the reasons DARS has been successful is the grandma's table philosophy, which came from Darlene, and also that we as a group firmly believe that we are one step away from the people who we serve. So, you know, whether it's, like I said, or you said, a one paycheck or what have you. And so there's not a hierarchy. It's a very inclusive group. So we're really proud, and we hope you'll join us some way. We are looking for a piano player for our Christmas party, December 13th.
With or without a monkey.
Yeah. Yes, Claudia?
Just want to say too, in addition to all the great suggestions Jake had, anybody's welcome to like just drop by anytime, like on Wednesday when we do lunches at the library, Thursday dinners at the church. If you just want to see what we do, like just come by. You don't have to come with something to give us or a donation. Just come and see. We're pretty open and our acceptable barriers. Just come have a look, because nothing sort of shows you more about what we're about than actually sort of being there, seeing the people and sort of the energy and the love and the camaraderie that's there. Just really is. So yeah, just come by.
Yes?
Is the intent of the transitional housing to be permanent? Or what is that intent?
So in my mind, transitional housing can be anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months to 3 years, or until the person is no longer. And the reason I say that is some people after 3 months will be able to pull things together and be fine, or want more privacy or whatever. But also we have individuals who live in other, they're not transitional housing, but sort of more communal housing, a little more communal than I would like, but communal. And they have just blossomed in that space because they needed that camaraderie, they needed those friends and people to talk to. It's a lonely, lonely life.
So based on the individual?
It, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
What's the timeline that this is going to be available for? Did you say around?
So the warming center will start December 1st, so that's like 2 weeks from now, I think. And then we're trying to get Alan into the transitional house almost immediately. It is livable at this point. So we're doing our safety checks, and then we hope to move him in, and then we will secure our funding. And then from there, we will.
I have a lot of work to do after
we will start to move the people in the new year. And we'll do it slowly. We won't move 5 people in at once. It'll be a ramped up process.
Yeah, it wasn't clear on where it was.
It's White's Road and Concession 3.
Okay, so a bit north.
Or third
Will they have
concession.
access for transportation and stuff, like facilities?
Transit on demand does go up, so our Durham Regional Transit does provide on-demand service, which means that even though on a nice day it is walkable to the Loop and Sunbird Trail in White's, on-demand transit does access into the rural area.
It's a nice 10-minute walk down the road. As Marie said, on a nice day, on a cold day, we would suggest that somebody call the on-demand, and then hopefully eventually the bus will loop right up to the 3rd concession.
So who actually pays for all of this? Like, are you getting obviously you have regional support, but are you getting financial support from the city as well as the region as well? Like, what levels of government are helping you?
So, great question. Up until, well, even now, up until now, we've had about $8,000 in grants. That's it. 3,000 from the city and 5,000 from Carrier, which was a post-COVID feel-good grant. However, we're working very closely with the region on the warming center, so it will be funded by the region. We do have in-kind services, so everything that we use at the public library or the city is given to us in kind. And then there are a number of other private sector grants that we will apply for. You know, this industry, and when I say industry, I mean not-for-profit industry, is very much about getting money wherever you can, right? You don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's not fun. Yeah, it's just, we have to work with those people who have the money to build relationships, to show them that we can provide proper programming with policies and procedures in place and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. And we just incorporated in November 2022. So we've only been incorporated for a year. Prior to that, it was just an organization of people. And we have, we're waiting on our charitable status. So that makes a big difference towards our credibility, I would say.
And hopefully the financial level.
And the financial, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus anybody that they qualify for ODSP, OWA, or other pensions, and so there is an opportunity to use some of that to pay part of a piece of it as part of the whole rent agreement that DARS is working out with the owners of the property.
Yeah.
And I think probably our regional staff can talk a little bit better about that than in terms of they administer these programs.
So this property was donated, or someone
No,
owns it?
nobody's donating property.
No, it's we're paying rent. We will pay rent. It's a reasonable amount of rent, but we also are going to be improving the capital features of the property, like things like making sure the well is safe, the water is safe to drink, that kind of stuff. And the so what was I? I've lost my train of thought.
Property not being donated.
Oh, yes, so, no, we definitely will be paying rent. And I think it should be that way, and I think the individuals who live in the home should also pay rent. There has to be that type of a relationship, because if not, then you're trying to help people move forward, and if you give it for free, it's not teaching them anything about budgeting or helping with those types of skills. So, will it be market rent? Absolutely not. The nice thing about this house is right now, well, we all know there's a housing crisis. It costs you $1,000 minimum just to rent a bedroom in Pickering. Yeah. And so if you get OW, it's $704 a month? $733 a month.
So it includes your basic needs, which includes shelter, food, and any other needs you would need. It's all inclusive.
And ODSP, which is the Ontario Disability Support Program, is 13? Just under 13. So, doesn't leave a lot for anything else, does it? And if you're on OW, you have to share with somebody. You have to share a room with somebody. So it's really nice that we'll be able to manage this property with both types of individuals. So that, because unfortunately, when somebody's got $1,300 to spend and somebody's got $700 to spend, it's a lot easier to find that person a room that has the higher income. So this way, it'll be a little bit more equitable.
I will say that we fund and oversee a few different transitional programs for the region of Durham under different agencies, and it's all different. Each program, some charge like rent geared to income rate, so based on what your income is proportionate to rent as per what the government sets out, and then others charge a flat rate, so maybe it's $300 and whatever your shelter portion is. So if it might be $370 a month. It just depends on the program, but it's all definitely under what market rent would be and proportionate to income source, which is nice. So different programs have a different criteria for that.
I'm just curious, if they're moving in, starting to move in January, and they're going to be raising crops and chickens, where is their food and supplies coming from in the meantime? Will they be buying things themselves, or will you be setting them up, delivering them groceries every week?
Sure. So the people who are living in the house will have a room and board type situation. So they will have probably two meals a day, and then they'll cooperatively organize that. I'm not exactly sure who's going to cook when, but that'll be the way it is. And then breakfast will probably be a get your own, and it will be funded to start with. And then we'll hopefully start some social enterprise, and that will go back towards helping those individuals with their daily expenses and maybe give them a little bit extra to spend somewhere else.
How long is the lease that you guys have with the homeowner, and how long is each, I guess, person you're helping able to stay for?
So we haven't finalized the lease yet because we need to have the clearances from a few of the safety type inspectors, I guess. But there is an offer, and so DARS will rent the house. DARS will lease the house. We will then have occupancy agreements with our individuals in the house. So like I said before, they could stay 3 months, 3 years, 3 weeks, not 3 weeks, but we hope they stay longer or forever.
Just want to know how long those terms are for the DARS you have, to make sure there's enough time.
For as long as we can get it. It'll be 5 to 10 years is what I wouldn't sign for anything less.
Not that you talk too much, I'm saying,
I do
I want
talk
to just
too
make
much.
sure that everybody
Just
gets
have
a
to
chance
put
to
a plug in.
talk and to bring forward, so please, it's great, thank you, Mark. And you can come back if there's any questions, but I'd like to make sure that everybody gets their time to speak.
Okay, so I'm not, okay. I was gonna say I have a big voice too, but I'm Lisa McIntosh, as I said earlier, and I'm the Director of Income, Employment, and Homelessness with the region of Durham. So that means I get to oversee the programs that include social assistance, so the OW program, some of the supports around some of the discretionary benefits that go to our ODSP clients as well. The province directly implements ODSP, so those clients have their caseworkers at the provincial ODSP offices, but there are certain benefits that we issue to support people with some support such as dental,
discretionary, like some medical costs, things like that, that
Beds.
they didn't cover. Sometimes.
Yeah. So there are certain benefits that can come through that way. Our OW clients, as Margaret said, are $733 a month. OW has not seen an increase in funding since 2018 for our implementation of the program, and then clients have not seen increases in a number of years either. So that is something that we are always working with and advocating to the province on behalf of. So my social assistance, this year we are and were assigned or successful to an RFP for the Employment System Transformation Program. So EOs and employment agencies have in the past been directly implemented and directly funded from the province. And so our clients would typically have received, social assistance clients would receive service through Ministry of Community, Children, Social Services, and MCCSS. And some of the EOs would have been funded through the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Trade Skill Development. And now it will all be a cohesive system within Durham, and the region will be the system manager for those services. And so all of our Employment Ontario agencies will be under that umbrella, and we will be offering services to people in Durham to support their seeking employment, gaining new employment skills, or even developing pre-employment skills if they've been out of the labor market or haven't entered the labor market yet. So those programs also sit under my portfolio, as well as homelessness. And that's the human side of our housing and homelessness work at the region. We do have a housing division that manages and oversees rent guaranteed income, the Dash housing wait list, which I think the last time I checked is about 8,000 people, and works with our nonprofit DRLHC housing sites and service providers to manage that system of housing in Durham. I get the human side of it all. So really a lot of work is happening within our division to keep people housed, to support them to get back into housing if they're unsheltered, and then once they are sheltered again, is to keep them housed. The market right now is really difficult to rent, so if somebody is already in a housing space and they're having difficulty with their landlord or with their neighbors, we work really hard with them to build their skills so they stay in that housing space, because if they leave, the next place they look for is going to be that much more expensive than where they already are. The prices are going up substantially month over month. So we know that the average rate for a one-bedroom apartment in Durham region is about $1,700. So when we're talking about the ODSP and the OW rates, having your own one-bedroom apartment is not affordable. It's not affordable for anyone working on minimum wage either. And so that realization comes to us in seeing people who are landing in situations where they are either on the verge of becoming unsheltered in the next few days when they call in, or they move and they are unsheltered when they come into service to seek services and to try to be rehoused. So getting creative and working with nonprofit agencies is a big part of what we're doing to build out service delivery in Durham. I took on the portfolio of income, employment, and homelessness as a unit about 15 months ago. Recently I was having a conversation with a service provider who's been in Durham for over a decade, and they said about 9 years ago we were still reporting in Durham region that there was only one homeless person in the region. And anyone who's lived here a long time, we know there were more, and there was always more than one homeless person in the region of Durham, but that's the way we were managing, resourcing, and funding our system of services. And so I have to say I am really grateful and really let's just say grateful. I was gonna say lucky, but I don't know that I feel lucky every day. I'm really grateful to do the work I do and to actually have the opportunity I do, because the regional counselors and all of them, including, the majority of them, including,
Majority, that's good.
including our local councils, are supportive of the fact that they're aware there are complex issues happening and that we haven't had the resources in place that we need to. So this year we saw solid support for building out the system side of the work we do, having infrastructure to allow me to build out and to be able to offer people services that will support them and will make things better. We're in a housing crisis across the nation. I went to a homelessness and housing conference last week. 1,700 representatives from across the nation were in Nova Scotia talking about homelessness, and there's not one community that's not experiencing complex, difficult issues right now. So we really need interesting and new solutions. And Regional Council has supported us with additional funding this year to build out that system. The province allocated more funding to Durham this year to support homelessness. It is a good starting point. We have not funded the system, and the system here has not been funded as strongly as it has in other communities to build that foundation in the past. And so we are working towards that and building out a good, solid system. In May, Council approved at our Committee of the Whole a outreach program for an actual regional outreach program. And we've worked really hard, and those staff will be onboarded on Monday. So I know it sounds like 6 months, couldn't you have worked faster, but in government, that is really fast. 24/7 outreach team will start to be onboarded on Monday, and we will see people out there in the community in a few weeks. The other thing we have soft launched, and we will actually do a full launch when those outreach workers are in place, is a email address, which is homelesshelp@durham.ca. That is being monitored 24 hours a day right now by a tiny team of management, including myself, but in the coming weeks, that outreach team will be there to support that. There is also a phone number that goes along with it. We triage those calls and those emails. So if you send something in that says, there's a tent behind us, it looks like somebody's sleeping in the ravine, the 24-hour outreach team may not go out in the middle of the night to wake the person up and talk to them, because we want people to get their sleep. If they're comfortable, if they're tenting, if the email looks like they're safe and we should just check on them. People are healthier when they get their sleep. And so if we wake them up and we keep them moving, we all know how we are when we're sleep deprived. Imagine that in the long term. And so we work really hard to support people where they're at and to work closely with our service providers to fill and to support gaps as they arise. Like I said, funding is not, and resources are not infinite. So we are working really hard to spread things out and to make that strong foundation and clear plans for the future. So you will see our homelessness plan will be presented to our Health and Social Services Committee in the new year, either at the January or the February Health and Social Services Committee of the region. Those are all online. You can pick those meetings up after they occur, or you can watch them live streamed. And the information about what we will be building out in the plan will be made available then. And we continue to build out service delivery models and space. And so for any of you who have been watching the media or maybe has seen me as a meme, 1635 Dundas Street, it was an empty long-term care home, and the region has purchased that to start building out space. Initially, what was approved was to allow us to clean up part of the property, to start with 45 emergency shelter beds to bring people indoors, because that's an immediate need in Durham. We do not have enough shelter beds. Our shelters have been full since I took the portfolio. Some nights it's like one person doesn't come back for a bed, somebody else gets it. but there is not an abundance of space indoors. There are people asking to come indoors and people getting turned away each and every night. So that space will allow us to start with those 45 beds. And then the rest of the building, we've gone through a bit of a process of engagement with our service providers and with the community. We will be building that out in phases for supportive and transitional housing and other types of housing, so people can move along the continuum of service delivery. Shelter is not an optimal housing option for the long term, but if we don't have enough of it in our communities to begin with, we need to at least build at all ends of that continuum. So if somebody is only ready to come into an emergency shelter, start working with a housing worker and building some of their needs out and developing their action plan, then we can move them along in housing and other types of housing based on what they're ready for at the time. So it's really important that we continue to develop new solutions. I'm always open to listening to people, and it's really important that if you have ideas, once that email and phone number launch, you're always welcome to provide information there. But anywhere you find my contact information, you will find a phone number that you can always reach me on as well. And the work that we're doing will continue into the years to come to build out our system, because is a lot of substantial need. Not every person who is homeless has complex mental illness or addiction needs. And it's important that we understand that every person who is experiencing homelessness, that's a condition that they're living with in their environment at the time. It is not part of who they are as a human being. It's just an experience that they're going through and working through. And so the skills, the characteristics, the empathy that they bring into the world, that is what we need to focus on and work forward on. Whether it's finding those mental health supports that they need, getting them their medications. In Durham, we're really lucky. We have the PCOP team. And so if anybody hasn't experienced our PCOP team, that's, and I say team, it's program, but it's 2 teams of individuals. It is a paramedic, a primary care paramedic, and a social worker. And so we have 2 teams. And they move across Durham, and they go out and they can support some medical needs. They can help people obtain their medications. The paramedic has capacity to do injections. They can do wound care. So those 2 teams will still be in place alongside our outreach team, but they'll be able to take the higher end medical triage. Right now they're moving all back and forth across Durham, really working alongside community partner outreach teams that are in place. But when I say teams, all of those are tiny but mighty groups. So each organization might have 1 or 2 people that they're sending out each day to do work in the communities. And Durham is growing fast.
Are you calling them PCOP?
Oh, it's PCOP, and it's Primary Care Outreach Program.
Thank you.
There's way too many acronyms.
Yes.
And we get caught up in it.
Yes, and they're the same as acronyms in other areas of social services, which makes it even more complex on a daily basis when we work with our peers. I'm gonna hand this on to Brandy, but I don't think it moves. Oh, there's one on your side.
Can you hear me? In the back, can you hear me? Oh my gosh, I knew you could hear me. So basically what I do as a program coordinator is I try and action and support all of the things that Lisa just said that we do in our portfolio, but really specific to our homelessness portfolio. So all the agencies that we do provide funding for to do this work and throughout Durham region, for example, now with DARS, so I would be a contact for DARS to reach out to support any of their ideas, but also to guide and make sure that we are following along with our regional service standards, which we have for shelters, for outreach, and for transitional housing. And so really, I think probably the biggest part of my job is to help oversee those programs and make sure that they're following the standards, but also to create and support and action anything that comes up problem-wise, which happens often all day long. I think that's probably a lot of what I do, but then really, really cool things happen too, where when you listen to what agencies are experiencing, and I go in and I meet with them and we talk to the staff that are working, and we hear the issues that they're facing or the challenges, or even we hear their wins, it's really, really amazing, because I can take that back and I know 13 other agencies that are doing similar work, and I can help try and partner them together or create other plans that might solve some of the issues that they're all facing. So really trying to make sure that the agencies that fall under our umbrella for homelessness are working collaboratively together and well. That's a big part of our role as program coordinators. With the transitional housing piece, just as we were speaking about it, in Oshawa we do have a microhomes project, so I have been the lead on that since month 2 of it coming to fruition. So that was 10 tiny homes that were placed in Oshawa in a neighborhood sort of on 2 streets like this, in their micro units, so individual units, and we took folks that were listed on our by name list, which is our way to capture our homeless folks in the region, and move them in and connected them to services. So I have been the lead on that project basically from the beginning through, and coordinating all the services and different activities that we put in place for that. So I'm hopeful that that will be a really good model for DARS to follow, because it's been really successful. Even with timelines, again, each of our transitional programs that we find have different timelines and different occupancy agreements, but they all relate to individual goals. So you are following goals. Part of my role is to make sure that whatever agency is involved in that is able to work through those issues that may come up or the challenges that may come up, to make sure that people are moving to a continuum of care using a really trauma-informed approach. So really just being kind to people and trying to be helpful, I think, is what we try and do. And like, I will give an example for the micro homes. Part of what we're doing, and just because it's fresh in my mind, is so this weekend actually the region of Durham has a corporate box for Oshawa Generals games, so at the Tribute Center. And so we're thinking of it because our folks were sort of bonding together. We've seen a couple of our guys were talking about hockey and baseball and things like that, and they've sort of started to hang out on the porches to talk about games as they come up, and they get really heated about who likes what team and all of those things. So we just thought, well, wouldn't that be kind of a neat thing to do? And we can access it, we have it available to us, so we asked to get out of the box, and we're going on Sunday. It was so fun. I'm so excited. And honestly, I would be very honest, is that one of our folks that lives there, he actually often does panhandle to supplement his income, but that's what he panhandles for, is to get tickets for hockey. So he is so excited. And part of what's really, really amazing about this team is that we get to be a part of those things. So for me to be able to go on a Sunday afternoon, because my managers and my directors have said that that's something that we can do that's really unique. And I've been in this field for 25 years, and that is why I do this work. And I think most of us who do this work do it because of those really neat things that happen. And it's not that there's not challenges. There are. Every day there are different challenges, but Durham Region has a really good network of agencies and people that are working together to try to make things better. And it's small enough that you know who everyone is eventually. So if you've been around long enough, at each agency there's usually people that have been around longer than you. You just have to figure out who they are and where they are, and they're happy to have you on board. So that's been something that's also been really great as we've picked up this homelessness piece, is that people are really open to working with us and wanting to make some changes, and they have really great ideas, things that we never really would have thought about. So that's really mostly what I think that we do as program coordinator. Our team is very small, and we have a lot of agencies that we oversee, so there is a quality assurance piece to it as well, to make sure, because there's funding requirements. It comes from the province, so there's a data integrity piece that happens, and we just try and make that as easy as possible for the agencies that we work with.
And we don't fully fund all the agencies, I didn't mention that. So we have oversight, we are the system manager appointed by the province, and then also the federal community entity. overseeing planning and developing homelessness services, but that doesn't mean that we have funding to fully fund agencies. So many nonprofits and charitable organizations are receiving funding for other services they offer from other provincial or federal programs, and they're also using that charitable status when they can as well, and getting grants or working through different options for fundraising as well. So it's a system that's really kind of meshed together on many levels for us to work with.
All right. Do you guys want me to use the microphone? We good? You can hear me? Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I was brought in to the city of Pickering about 6 months ago as the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisor, and I am leading the City of Pickering Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. So some of you may know that the Durham region has their Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, and so Pickering has taken it upon themselves to make more of a municipal-based plan. So I was hired and brought in to really lead the implementation of that plan. And a large part of that plan, as Councillor Brenner alluded to, is really community safety and having that lens for the individuals in our community who are housing insecure. And so that's a large part that we really want to incorporate into our community safety and wellbeing plan. So in these 6 months, I've really been finalizing this draft plan that will be available to the public soon. But in this time, as Mark kind of spoke to, we have such a beautiful partnership with DARS. Most of the stuff that we are doing with our housing insecure clients in Pickering is really through DARS. They help with the shower programs, they help with our wellness checks, they provide the lunch services, and although we can sometimes support with facilities, they're really the leaders in that group. And so we're trying to figure out how we can support even more those types of initiatives to assist the housing insecure clients within Pickering. And so we've done a couple different phases of community consultations to figure out what the community really wants to see in this plan. I've also done quite a bit of outreach towards DARS themselves and come to quite a few of their lunches to really hear what it is, kind of boots on the ground, front line, what resources and what services are really needed on that level. And so a lot of things that we've incorporated into the action plan is creating more free programming within the city of Pickering, talking more about food security programs, how can we enhance some of those programs and services that we offer, but on a smaller level. So what can we do in this action plan to really beef up some of these resources and services that our community really needs? What type of free employment workshops can we provide? So the library does a beautiful job of doing financial literacy and employment workshops, and so working with the library to ensure that we are providing that type of support and that free access to the internet and different workshops that anyone would really need. And I think one of the key things for the city of Pickering, at least when I came on board, was really creating some types of policies and procedures that we can do to support our housing insecure community. And talking with DARS and talking with Durham region and getting input from all of our community partners to see how we can best support and in what ways. Since I started, we have also implemented an advisory committee. So we do have a community safety and well-being advisory committee, and I see at least one member here, so thank you for joining. And so they've been a crucial role in this draft plan. They've been a crucial role in the consultation process, going in and looking at some of our engagement strategies and really giving that input, especially from perhaps a neighborhood watch perspective or any other community organization or healthcare. And so that's been really valuable. And we've done some training, we've done some vulnerable sector training, and we've voted and spoken about a lot of like Highway Traffic Act amendments and intimate partner violence, so a lot of other things that you can look up in our minutes online. But one other thing that was mandated in our terms of reference for the advisory committee was a homelessness task force. And so we haven't implemented the homelessness task force yet, but at our November 9th meeting, we really started to talk about, hey, who do we need on this homelessness task force? How are we going to be supported? What key objectives do we want? Do we need someone from Durham region there? Do we need someone from DARS there? Like, who do we need at the table to really figure out what we can do as a municipality as the city of Pickering? And so even though that is going to, they will start having meetings in 2024, that's really what we're starting with. And the homelessness task force will be unique because it will actually be able to help us with some of those policy and procedure enhancements or creations of how we can support our housing insecure clients. And then that homelessness task force can also assess and look at what wraparound services do we have specific to Pickering, because we know there's a lot of resources across Durham region, but what do we have specific to Pickering in how we can assist those clients? And potentially looking at what is our community needs assessment, working with DARS, hey, like, what do we need in Pickering that might be a little bit unique to the rest of the region? And so that's what I'm doing right now.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to the panel. Is there any questions? Yeah, okay. I know there's gonna be a lot, so I just want to offer, like, if anybody would like to get up and get a drink of water, I'm saying, maybe could we just take this quick break, bio break, leave the restrooms, and just grab a drink of water or coffee, and then we can come back and have a little stretch, and you folks can stretch for a minute. Yeah, get a coffee, just change.